Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Creative Life Studios. So today we're going to be playing with some alcohol inks and with a product that I haven't used a lot, and it's the Faith Impressions line from Gel Press. And I say I haven't used it a lot as in I haven't used it a lot on my channel, but I've used it a lot because it's mine. So if you're not familiar with Gel Press, you can see that it is just a jelly plate. It's for monoprinting. And we're just going to take our alcohol inks and we are going to just add some dots here and there. I'm using kind of a lime green color, a blue, and a yellow for this particular technique. And as you know, alcohol inks dry really fast, but with this technique, it's going to work super great to give us some great texture. So now I'm also going to take my roller and I'm going to do not really a roll, but more of a, call it the dab and smush. So I'm trying to just lightly mix those colors without going crazy. And then I'm taking a texture plate, and what that's going to do is it's going to remove just a little bit of the excess ink while leaving the impression on there. And now I'm going to wait for that to dry. I'll link some other Gel Press Faith Impressions videos down in the comments or description so that you can see some more just versions of this. This particular set is mine that I designed to fit in the margins of a journaling Bible. So you see now I'm just going to add some white paint to my Gel Press Faith Impressions border plate. And just a little bit, and then I'm going to use that same brayer just to brayer a light coat. And I'm going to brush it off, you can't see off camera, just a little bit. Because I want just a really light coat of that white paint. And what that's going to do is it's going to give that alcohol ink something to stick to as opposed to my plate. So when I take it now, and I'm just going to line it up here on the border of my journaling Bible. And once it's lined up, I'm just going to give it a couple of good presses, and that's just going to help release that alcohol ink and that acrylic ink from the surface of my Gel Press plate. Like I said, I will put a link to this down in the description where you can get the product and see more how to use it. And now I'm just going to take it, I'm just going to lift it off, and you're going to see I have a beautiful graphic background with some great texture, and I got a hair stuck in it, which is kind of funny. Love it. So I've got great texture, and what's great too is by you doing this technique, it's permanent since it's alcohol ink, and so it's already dry and I can already start adding stuff on top of it. Now to protect the rest of my pages while I finish up this page, I'm going to go ahead and add, of course, my wax paper behind to keep that page behind it safe. And then I'm also going to go in with a sponge brush. And I'm going to go ahead and add some clear gesso to the exposed page. The border is already pretty much protected now that I've done the alcohol ink acrylic technique with my Faith Impressions plate. But I just want to make sure that the rest of my page is protected and strengthened so that I can go ahead and just do whatever I want, because I'm not really sure what mediums I want to use yet. And I'm kind of swiping some over the border that I created. It's not necessary. I think it's more just out of habit to kind of sweep it across the page, so that's what I did. But it wasn't really necessary. And now I'm going to start just adding some more stuff. I pulled out a really vintage set of some 7 Gypsies acrylic stamps. I've had them for a very long time and they've never been used, so you can see me off camera fiddling, trying to get them unstuck from the acetate, but they are very happy where they were, so it took me just a minute. I'm going to be using some distress ink in, I believe it's Painted Fence or something like that, and then also Scattered Straw. I just really felt like they complemented my colors really well. And I'm just using it just to kind of break up some of that just blank space. It's kind of a, I don't know what you would call it, kind of just a texture. And I'm using, like I said, the peeled paint and the scattered straw. Oh, I was right, it is peeled paint. And so, and you can see I'm also doing it on the border to kind of break up that really harsh straight line that I got from my border plate, and just to bring that color all the way around my page. And I wanted to get in the corner, so I went ahead and just took it off the acrylic block because it was kind of a little bit easier to maneuver. I don't tend to use acrylic blocks a whole lot, but I was trying to be fancy. And so you see I've got just that nice kind of crosshatch design going on all over. And now I know I'm going to be using the scripture on verse 3 of chapter 44 that talks about water. So I have this super great little decal I guess stamp, and I'm using Distress Oxide and Mermaid Lagoon because I want to kind of mimic the idea of water and bubbles in my project. So I'm adding that to my background, my crosshatch. And as you know, Distress Oxides dry really slow because of the way they're made because they're made to be manipulated. So I'm going ahead and hitting it with a heat gun just to get it dry so that I can move on to my next step and not have to worry about smearing that blue everywhere. I'm also going to grab my Illustrated Faith stamp. It's a date stamp and it also has some words and stuff. Normally I don't do this until the end of my project, but in all honesty I wasn't really sure which way I was going or what I wanted to do. So I decided, oh, well, I know how to do this, so I'm going to grab my archival ink. I'm going to make sure my word is set to nothing, so I'm just getting the date portion. And then I'm just going to stamp it down in the bottom. And now I know that I did it on July 18th, 2020. And then I dug through my sticker stash and just pulled out a bunch of things I thought would work. If you follow my channel at all, you know I tend to, in my Bible journaling, recreate some portion of the scripture. So I wanted to combine all of verse 3, which says, I will pour water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour out my spirit on your offspring and my blessing on your descendants. And I kind of wanted to combine those two into kind of one thought. So I'm making the title say, pour out the water of your spirit is what the final thing says, if you saw the still shot at the beginning. So I'm kind of playing with these, trying to get that kind of even. Here's part of my problem because currently working retail and having to wear gloves all the time. My hands are constantly sweaty and they have completely ruined my nails, which weren't all that good to begin with. So dealing with itty bitty stickers right now is kind of difficult, and being able to pick them up and maneuver them because I have like no nails right now. So yeah, so that's fun. So you'll see me struggle with some baby stickers a couple times in this video. I used to have a really great pair of tweezers, but you know, little hands, it happens. So I've got the pour and the out and and you can see to kind of keep things moving, I use the T from out to be the T in my the, just to give some visual interest and do something a little bit different. And I'm grabbing I think they're used to like remove nail polish, and I got them at Sally's Beauty, but they're perfect for inking the edge of stuff. I had these great yellow that kind of matched the yellow in the background that I created, but it was a little too bright and this was a little more grungy. So I'm just taking that same peeled paint, Distress ink, and just adding it to the outside of all of my letters just to kind of blend them and dirty them up a little and that kind of stuff. I'm speeding through this just a little bit because you don't really need to see exactly how that was done because, you know, it's the same process for all of them. Like I said, I always recommend if you can just keep a little stockpile of stickers. They come in super handy and you can distress them, you can change them up and just kind of make them all sorts of different things. So on another set that I had where I got the pour letters from, they had this really funky kind of diamond pattern as I guess a border sticker. And I wanted to add that to the background so that just for another little bit of visual interest and kind of keep that blue going. And I just thought they were kind of funky, a little vintage. But I wanted to make sure, since it was going to be in the background, that I got it down before I added the rest of my letters so that I wouldn't have to pop those letters up and then put it back down. So you can see I'm just putting those letters over that diamond shape. I can't talk today. And just continuing to distress those with that peeled paint. And you can see it's kind of making it more cohesive, whereas if I would have left in that bright yellow, it would have looked really awkward. I'm also adding a little bit of green to the letters I've already put on there, just to, again, tone down the brightness, tone down the newness of the stickers just a little bit, so they kind of flow a little bit better with this kind of grungy thing I got going on. And then I found just this little tag that also matched the green I was using, just to kind of bring some color up into that top right corner. Because of the angle, I couldn't quite get it right, so I'm just going to flip my Bible to the side. That way I make sure I get that edge up there. And then I'm going to make sure on everything I'm just adding just a little bit of those blue dots. So again, re-emphasizing that idea of water and bubbles, with my Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide. It's one of my favorite colors that he's made. And again, remembering to dry it because it does take a while to dry on its own, and ain't nobody got time for that. I wanted to move on to the next step. So you can see it's starting to come together, and I dug through my stickers and I found this big sticker from Illustrated Faith that said Holy Spirit, but I really only needed the spirit part, so I just cut it in half. And again, you're seeing me struggle for real getting those little stickers up because I could have just put it on there, but I wanted to make the title feel more cohesive, so I want some of the letters to kind of go over my spirit word. So you can see I'm just putting them back so that now that word spirit is connected to my title and it's not just kind of hanging out there. Now, I wasn't in love with the word spirit because it was such a bright black and it was very stark, and there's nothing else on my project right now that's black. So I tried some ink, or just putting some ink on it. That didn't work. So I just grabbed my plate again, and now I'm just going to use it as a palette and put a little bit of clear gesso on it and then add some brown paint into it. What I'm really doing, I'm not really trying to change the color of the black. I'm really just trying to tone it down and make it a little bit more vintagey. I did the clear with it so that, again, it's not going to look like I'm trying to repaint it. But I'm just getting the clear parts a little brown so that it tones down the edges of that dark black, and just trying to make it fit in with my my whole, I guess, vintage distressed vibe I have going on here. And some of it's getting on the clear around it, which is great because it's just adding to that. And I'm just going to add a little here and there to my full page as well, just to kind of, again, make that brown that I put on the spirit make sense. Because if it was just in that one area, it would look really odd and it wouldn't make any sense. So I'm just adding it here and there. And I'm also going to grab a baby wipe in just a minute just to smooth out my paint a little bit. So I'm just adding that mixture of clear gesso and coffee bean Americana paint. It wasn't quite giving me, I liked the smudges on the stark white, but it wasn't quite on the other colors giving me exactly what I was looking for. So I'm going to go on with something different here in just a minute to finish that up. So again, baby wipe just helps smooth it out so there's no harsh lines. And now I'm going to grab my trusty Faber-Castell PITT Artist pen, and I'm just going to use that just to add some shadows and make those letters pop a little bit against that background. Again, I use this technique a lot with different colors. It just adds a little something, especially when you're doing something like this that is a kind of a distressed vintage kind of feel. Just putting that line and rubbing it gives you an automatic shadow, a little bit extra bit of distressing, and it helps your letters not to fade into the background, because again, we are using letters that are in the same color scheme, which I like, but sometimes if you're not careful, they can get lost because they are the same color scheme. It's kind of a double-edged sword, catch-22 kind of deal. So doing something like this just gives it a little pop, gives it a little shadow so that it looks like it's coming off the page. And so I'm just going to do that around all of my little things, all my little letters, a little bit around my spirit. Again, just trying to alter that color just a little bit to where it's not as stark black. And I know as I'm doing this, it looks like it's black, but you can see from the finished pictures that it's just a kind of a muted dark brown. Once this dries and I kind of figure out what I'm doing, and you know, sometimes this is just about trial and error and figuring out what works and what doesn't work, and that's okay too. And so I'm just going over it, and I love this verse because it really is reiterating the same thing, that I will pour out water on a thirsty land and streams on a dry ground. But then it repeats it, saying, in case you didn't understand, this is what that means, that I will pour out my spirit on your offspring and your blessings on your descendants. So it's saying the same thing, kind of once in the physical and then once in the spiritual. And so remember to continue that idea of the water and the bubbles. I'm just adding that same blue kind of speckles on top of my spirit word and drying it again so it doesn't smear everywhere. Again, just using various things just to kind of complete and reiterate my theme that I have going on. I've grabbed my Illustrated Faith stamp again, and I'm just going to stamp the word remember up there on that little tab at the top. I tried writing something, and I don't really like it, so I smeared it off and added more distressing. So that is, oh, and I messed it up the first time, so I had to go back and do it again. So that is today's project. I hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, I will link to videos where you can learn more about Faith Impressions and where you can purchase it down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if there's a technique you'd like me to try, leave me a comment and let me know, and I'll give it a try for you. Thanks, and have a great day.